Hello, and welcome to the Omena Historical Society in Omena, Michigan. My name is Susan Odom, and I'm the new staff person here. And I have something really exciting I want to show you inside. It really is. Come on in. Well, we're upstairs in the museum now, and so the exciting artifact I wanted to show you was this book. Trust me, it really is pretty cool. So this is book one of the Leelanau Township, Leelanau County Rural Properties Inventory. This was a WPA project, the Work Projects Administration, and in the state of Michigan, they did a survey of every county, every rural township. This starts in the early 30s and stops about the time World War II, by the time that our country joins World War II. And the purpose of this to start with was for taxation purposes, for equalization and determining property value of each property. So this book, or this binder, because as you can see it really is an old binder, this one was done in 1939, and I don't understand the whole book yet. I think this is just part of Leelanau Township. And the only reason we have this in our collection is because Frank Kelchek found it at a garage sale. So keep your eyes out for things like that. So we're going to open up the book, and the top is broken, so don't panic when you see that happen. So there's the top. Here's the really interesting binding part. Take that off. If you look on the side, you see like all the pages are just stacked up in here. So we'll open it up. And it talks about the locations that are included in this book. And this is interesting. This is the legend, because this actually has each parcel, each tax parcel, each piece of property listed, the type of house it has, but also the type of farmland. So we have Class A, agriculture's crops, Class B, Class C, Class D is what we have most around here nowadays, orchards and vineyards, berries. Then it talks about soil types, topography, drainage, erosion and gullies. And this one's something we never think about nowadays, physical features. Few stumps are very stumpy. They used to have to work around the stumps in farms. We don't have to do that much anymore. So I thought it'd be fun to take a quick look at one of the first entries, which was a name I recognized when I first moved here. I learned about this man named Irving Ranger. And so this is the page of his farm. So it lists all kinds of amazing information. Let me take my glasses off. The house was built in 1885. It has a stone foundation, a gable roof. The walls are wood siding. The basement is partial. The heating was by stove. It had a partial plumbing, kitchen sink. That meant they had an outhouse. Oil lamps, so no electricity. In fact, it runs over here. Electricity is not checked off, but he had a telephone. And this is 1939, remember. So here's a picture of the house. Look at that. It gives the dimensions of the house and all that. Of course, remember, this was for taxation purposes. But what great information. And then when we turn the page, on the second page of his, which is actually the part I probably like the most, is it has a diagram of his entire parcel, his entire farm. This bit here, one, was the farmhouse, and all the other little sections are different descriptions of the farm he had. He had about 5 acres of sour cherries, what we call tarts nowadays, and then 7 acres of apples. And the remainder that is down here was various types of cropland, where I know they grew some wheat, and some of it's untillable pasture, some of it was mucky soils, and some of it's woodlands. And probably some of the coolest detail they have on here is on the cherries and the apples. They even talk about the spacing. These apples were planted 35 by 35. So what that meant is the rows, the first number 35 stands for the spacing in the rows, and the second number stands for the spacing between the trees. So that means that apple orchard was planted with 35-foot rows and 35 foot between the trees. I talked to a neighbor of mine who has an apple orchard, and he just planted he has many orchards, he just planted a brand new one, which is 12 by 3. That means his rows are 12 foot wide, and the trees are 3 feet apart instead of 35. So this is a great book that really shows a lot about changes in agriculture, who owned the land, types of buildings that were on it, how the buildings were built, even rates, what kind of condition they were in. So it's really a fascinating book for us to have here at the museum, and we're working on some ways to share this information. Now, the other cool thing about Irving Ranger is that we, in our oral history collection, have an interview that was done of him by Amanda Holmes back in 1999. I believe that was the year. And he talks about there that he, at different times, they had about 5 to 10 acres of wheat on their farm, which I would guess was probably in section 3 or 4 on his property based on the soil types that are listed there. And it's been fascinating to read his oral history and start to make some connections to the snapshot of time that we can see here in 1939, what his farm looked like. So it's very interesting for me. I have a passion in agriculture, but as we were reading the oral history, he also made the comment that he didn't really know what the people who came to summer, who came to the resorts in Omena did. Even though he considered himself from Omena, he didn't necessarily have that connection. In fact, even further away, he raised some chickens, but sent them to a butcher in Sutton's Bay because he didn't care to kill them himself. But he'd never actually been to that butcher. Somebody must have taken them there for him. Anyway, we wanted to show you this. This is a project that we hope to continue working on and kind of getting the word out there that we have this. The State Archives in Michigan, which is down in Lansing, they have a decent collection of these books, but a lot of these books ended up going missing. During World War II and post-World War II, some of these books were sent to Lansing and back to their home townships. You know, and back then a lot of townships' offices were just run out of the supervisor's kitchen. So a lot of these books probably ended up just getting left behind. So you may find one someday. Well, that's it. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, you're welcome to find us on the web or Facebook or Instagram at Omena Historical Society. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.